Yeah, it really depends, I suppose. Again, where your business is coming from, and then as well, like what else in your week. Like, say for example, if you get a lot of your clients through referrals, as well through like the club, as well as then working in Best Body and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, you realistically don't need to be posting all the time. Like if you're a personal trainer, like working on a gym floor or anything like that, like making content is,
Uh,
the people in your gym might not follow you at all, and that's where your time is going to be better spent talking to people in the gym versus
yeah.
posting a reel or dedicating time towards that. Whereas when you're in the online space, it's like if you can't post, you can't be seen, and then as
Yeah.
well, you're also competing against the person who has the flashy Instagram, the flashy post, the good call to actions, the good hooks. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's tough. It is very much like as Paul said in that podcast. Like it essentially does take up like almost 50% of your time to a degree.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I'd say about half, if or at least a quarter of my week is taken up of trying to do social media or like content stuff, which is insane.
It is, I suppose, yeah. And then it's a whole other branch of our area that just like if you're not prepared to educate yourself, it
Yeah,
can be, when I say very, probably extremely lucky with abs and best body, where it's just like, oh, he seems to be pretty strong. Who's Joe? That's like, that's
yeah,
just
yeah,
like the way it kind of filters for me, which I'm just very, very, very lucky with.
yeah. It,
Your Go on.
go on.
No, I was just gonna say your training is going what looks like really well despite the move.
Yeah, as well as it could be. I suppose hit 275 on the squat on Sunday. So that's the first
Mm,
time at 5 reds in the bar. So that felt nice. That felt nice.
yeah,
Especially,
I'd say so.
yeah, it's nice to hit it with like getting called on depth on both sides and getting
Mm,
commands. So it's definitely a good kind of boost of confidence. It's yes, it's definitely a bit anxiety inducing going back down to abs. So for for that kind of specific session, because like up until then, I didn't really have anybody judging depth at
mm,
all.
yeah,
And then like as we discussed already, like there's trying to just kind of move the weight in the wraps and kind of dropping into the bottom of the squat, like not overthinking it. And then there is trying to do that as well as like being really mindful of, like of nailing depth, like and making it obvious that if you are going to be competing on a very strict platform.
yeah,
And like in the previous times, maybe the first few weeks when I was training Canada, around people who are more WRPF affiliated and maybe giving me little softer calls on the L depth, uh,
yeah,
which
yeah,
probably
yeah,
wouldn't
yeah,
pass
yeah, yeah,
in abs. So, couldn't be fully confident that I
yeah.
was doing it then. But look, all the same, it's the heavy squats are out of the way now, so it's just need to roll into competition. So I hope you're looking forward to handling me on the day.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, can't wait to fucking batter the knees off you with those reps. That.
Yeah.
Uh,
Also, with deadlift, is like I suppose we'll have to wait until I see what John thinks for attempt selections, which will be interesting considering just doing the approach of just using triples
mm,
again. Very very novel, very interesting, bold move, bold strategy, Cotton.
yeah, I. And what do you think you'll probably work up to for your last treble?
I did my last treble there, 275 for three.
Was it?
Yeah.
What was the RP? Let the ops know.
My God. Or B. Oh, I'd probably say 9.5. I probably could have went heavier, but I couldn't have done
You
more
wouldn't have got
reps.
another rep. Yeah,
No,
yeah,
no.
100%.
Yeah, probably
Um,
could have done 277, but 260 just that was the one prior to it, and it didn't move amazingly. Like it moved okay. Like I was training with some clients on the day, so it wasn't like
yeah,
fully like battered into the
locked
zone.
in.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah, yeah.
completely locked in.
Mm,
So I decided, you know what? As much as I'd love to take 277 or 280 and hit a PB, not the best call for the day. And I was like,
Yeah, yeah,
no,
yeah, yeah.
I don't want to, let's say, I don't want to show off in front of clients here. And then they're like, oh, good job, coach. You just overshot there and missed your last deadlift. You're setting a
Yeah,
great example.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I totally get that. Would you? Could you foresee yourself potentially opening so in around the 270, 275?
Yeah, I'd say you could open with 270 for sure. And then, I don't know, maybe see after that, maybe 290, 295 or something like that.
You've pulled three,
Huh?
or have you've pulled three or
No,
295? 295?
292. Yeah, 292.
292. That'd be
But
pretty
I suppose
nice, yeah.
I don't know what the Cerberus deadlift bar is going to be like. So that was like one downside of training in fire this week. I was planning to go down to abs, but the opportunity presented itself to kind of get my last deadlift in with another one of my clients who's competing and doing her last
Oh,
deadlift.
fair,
So
yeah. Yeah,
I
yeah,
said may
yeah.
as well kind of do it together.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know what the Cerberus one is like. Apparently it's stiff, but sure, we'll see on the day. It would be
It is.
fairly worn out from the lads at the Clash using it. So that's how it works, right? It's like if the bars used more often throughout the day, it gets a little bit kind of bendier, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, like I suppose you could have a couple of 400 pulls on that, so I'd say by the time you get your hands on it, it
Yeah, yeah,
could be fairly well worn.
it'd be no
I
knurling.
Yeah, I honestly think with the Cerberus bar, it's a bit stiffer than a Rogue. Like to me, the the like Texas deadlift bar is the gold standard of deadlift bars. Like I don't like this isn't me shitting on Cerberus or Rogue or anything. Not that any either company are listening, but yeah, I think like the gold standard of deadlift bars is the Texas bar, just because like it's whippy, but it's not to the point of like a kabuki bar where it's just silly, do you know. Um,
Yeah,
but I find the knurl on the Cerberus bar pretty soft. Whereas like I don't know about you, but I love the sharp, hard, aggressive knurl of an old the Rogue
yeah,
stainless steel power bar, and the Texas power bars have like pretty nice knurl.
yeah. I used the Rogue there during the week, and the week prior I was using the Texas. Yeah, the Texas is definitely a little bit kind of stiffer than the Rogue one for sure.
Do you think
I
so?
found it. I found anyway. Yeah, I felt like I wasn't getting as much slack now. It could have just been I was tired from the weekend and I couldn't
Huh.
like get as much out of it potentially. Like maybe my body was just tired going into the session and I couldn't get as much out of it. Like that's like especially considering I did the transcontinental travel, so
Yeah.
that's definitely a possibility.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah. You 100% have to factor that in. Um,
He-
and you're using squat bar.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I've pretty much
How?
got my entire prep in on a service one as well. Not that it
Oh
makes a
yeah.
massive difference if it's a service or like a rogue one or whatever.
Mm. I think I think as long as it's not a Texas squat bar, I don't know if you've ever used a Texas squat bar, but like it genuinely flexes with like 200 kilos on it. Like it's the most pointless.
I've used the Texas power bars.
They're honestly, I would say the whip on a Texas power bar and the whip on a Texas squat bar is the fucking same. Like
Yeah,
I think the Texas squat bar is like the chocolate teapot of squat bars. Like it's pointless.
yeah.
Um,
I
the
don't
all
like the Texas power bars at all. Like they're quite whippy as well. I find.
they are whippy.
Yeah.
But I find with um there's a bar in abs that they would have used for a lot of it. It's called All Out
AHO.
Athletics.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
AOA. Like that bar is fucking. Uh, just listen to that. I'm very sorry. It's such a
The powerlifting
fucking.
podcast. I'm sure
Well, as was
the people at home will be like, yeah, fucking great
yeah,
spot, man.
this fucking stupid Texas power bar. Yeah, you fucking cunt. Yeah. But
Really getting.
no, I I suppose leading on to equipment. One of the things that happened at Junior Nats that I was a bit like didn't now I suppose to preface that it was a savage competition, really well organized, really well ran. Like, this is in no way a jibe at the organizers or the organizing committee or the IPF. But just they used ER racks in the warm up room, and then on the platform it was an Alico rack. And even like some of the rack heights were different, and there was a few other bits like that. But I like that Alico rack is just like so above an ER rack in terms of like build quality.
Yeah.
It's even
Way
the
sturdier.
oh, it's way sturdier. Like the pad, like the gel. It's like there's gel in the bench pad or something. It's fucking lovely. It's like it's trying to be like, oh, go on, just hold that steady there now. Like
Yeah,
it's real.
like memory
Yeah.
foam mattress or something.
It's lovely. Like you'd love to see worlds being hosted here or something like that, just so that the federation can have more of those racks or something. Especially considering like I think nearly every rack in Ireland is an ER rack, and because they're no longer IPF approved,
Really?
so this
Why?
is this is another one of the fucking shit shows I find with the IPF, like the International Powerlifting Federation is. So like like if you look at the IPF thing, it's like we're trying to break down barriers to participation. We're trying to like get more women involved. We're trying to like do all of these like popular things to say.
Yeah.
And if you go through the annals of powerlifting, the most like the one rack that's synonymous with powerlifting over the last like 2 decades of the combo rack being the standard rather than the mono, it's been an ER rack. And for anyone that doesn't know, your powerlifting sleeves, your wrist wraps, your singlet, your plates, your barbell collars, even the platform you deadlift on, if you're lifting at an IPF national event or international event, all of that equipment has to be IPF approved. And for that equipment to be IPF approved, that company needs to pay the IPF fucking superfluous fee to get that like IPF seal of approval, which is why if something isn't IPF approved versus is IPF approved, the company has to cover that cost and eventually pass that cost on over to the consumer. But ER racks are no longer approved. So the only 2 gyms, or there's maybe 3 gyms in Ireland that have an IPF approved rack, which is the rack, the Ilico rack the Federation owns. I think City Gym have an Ilico rack, and I think Gainfort have an ATX rack, and maybe they have an Ilico rack as well. But yeah, it's one of the belly aches I have with the IPF is like if you're like, say like a lot of the like kids in my gym here where they're like we have an older combo rack which was like a bit of a DIY job, but like lovely and sturdy, but just not like an Lico rack. And then we have a TD, like even for them to get onto an ER rack, they'd have to go to abs. But like for any of them, if it's their first time on an Alico rack.
Yeah, the EO racks, they're so smooth as well. If you're a spotter and loader, they're fucking a
They're
dream
so easy to use.
to operate. The TDE ones, no offense, Thomas Savin, but not that you listen to this, but they're a nightmare to operate.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? Yeah, the Lico, the rational. So I'm not a massive fan of the bench pad. I'm not gonna lie, especially with the kind of grip at like the where your kind of shoulders are. Some of them have. I don't know if it's all, but I've used one of the combo racks as like grip, essentially where your shoulders are. So if you're trying to like slide yourself up the bench, it's like you can't. Essentially, just feels like your fucking traps just end up just going like.
Yeah, you choke yourself with your fucking t-shirt. Yeah, I suppose like that's and like out of.
It's a small thing.
It's such a small small thing, but I think where there's so much like appropriate, like in powerlifting, like it's kind of like it's a feel sport, and I know that
Oh
sounds
yeah.
really funny, but like to me, if you had like a county final, like if you were getting ready for a county final, like and if it was like a ladies intermediate football final, and I don't know, Carlo landed in with Azuri footballs, and then they were taking all the free kicks with them. They were doing all their warm ups with the Azuri football, and then they went out playing with the O'Neills. That wouldn't happen. They wouldn't go like it just wouldn't happen. You'd play with the implement, or you'd train and try and use the implement you're using, because we know that there's some sensory feedback. There's some going to be some change in performance with using a different implement. So
Oh
I
yeah.
like I you'd love to see it for Irish powerlifting in the near future, where like there's there's kind of more available, and as money comes into the sport, like there should, like, hopefully elite core racks become more common. But I do feel it's a little bit like of a step. It's a bit of a regression. And obviously, like, the Irish Powerlifting Federation's hands are tied, because it's a rule of the federation that, like, for national level competitions, it has to be used.
It it is interesting though that like rogue racks have also been used.
They're IPF approved.
Yeah. So I'm surprised we haven't seen them more in Ireland because we've seen rogue plates on platforms. I'm almost certain. I've definitely seen rogue plates on like city gym platforms
Oh
being used.
yeah, I think with Rogue, their like monster rack is fucking huge.
It
Like
is
it's
huge. Yeah.
it's it's
They used to
so,
have one in the Canada gym, in the
like
Canadian gym.
I've only seen one, and it's fucking stupid. Like there's no,
Yeah.
it's so oversized and overbuilt that it's nearly like, if you own the gym, I'm sure it's a great investment. But like, if you're running competitions and you're trying to, like, God bless fucking Ken and the Phenom boys, trying to jivvy around fucking
Yeah.
um
It's a very dense and wide rack as well. Like when I'm using it, I have to put the racks in to not
it's
clip
massive.
off the rack
It's
when I'm
huge.
walking out.
Like there's
Also, when they hosted a competition in Canada and Fernando Arias was doing it, and like
yeah
he kept like clipping off like the side of the bench, like because the bench the J hooks as well as the safeties were out so wide, the bar just kept like clipping off it.
yeah
He had to like retake his first bench like twice or something like that. The
yeah
WPF
it's
dog.
yeah it is pretty cumbersome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I suppose, like, it's that was our few minutes chat on powerlifting equipment. Would you?
I was going to ask you just to stay on junior nationals because we did want to kind of talk about that a little
Oh
bit
yeah,
today. So how did the weekend go for you? Like obviously you had a good few athletes competing at that successful
yeah,
weekend.
yeah. Definitely like one of my favorite weekends of coaching. Like, there's been some highlights, but definitely that weekend was definitely a big highlight for me. I think with a lot of the lads, um, obviously podiuming and PBing their lifts and stuff like that. It's like that side of things is brilliant. But just the, like, for me, I know, like, not to be like drab about it, but like eventually, like, I'll be gone out of powerlifting at some
Mm.
stage, and like you'll be, I don't know, maybe I might be watching, or I might be watching on a live stream, but it definitely made me feel like I was doing something positive, where like these, like, 15, I think I'd like 14 or 15, and like there was a little, like, gang of them. They were all like cheering on for each other. They were all like out back for each other's deadlifts and like pushing each other on. Like, so for me, that little group, like, of the people I had, I'm sure like other coaches and people in other clubs feel the same. But yeah, that was definitely one of the big positives for me, was just the kind of sense of community. Not that I felt, but like I saw them have for each other, and that for me, that was like the highlight of the weekend.
Mm.
Dustin shit in the bed and like literally shit in the bed. Was obviously an upset, but I'm excited for excited to see him kind of like come back and do himself justice because like Andrew Rowe had a savage day like he's a phenomenal lifter in his own
Yeah,
right, but I would have loved to have seen Dustin push him because I really think Dustin is capable of that kind of that standard, and I just hope the next 52 weeks or 50 weeks or whatever we're at now brings that to fruition for him because like he's one of like he was like my first client, like he was like the
yeah,
first person I coached, so like we know each other extremely well, and like it kind of goes beyond like it's far beyond having a client now, like it's just
yeah, for sure.
you just want one of your friends to do well. So I was upset for him, but at the same time, I think anytime he's had a setback like that, he's recovered and he's just taken it and used it and exceeded where he was. So that it like I've really strong belief in him and his ability. So I've no doubt like in the next time he'll be on the platform, he'll probably total 800 kilos, and we'll just be where did that come out of?
Mm.
Um, but
Yeah,
yeah,
his training looked like it was going unbelievable. Like he did release like some. He released. he let out some what training clips from his peak, and yeah, he's hitting some good numbers. He'd have to
yeah,
change the name to Dustin the Permo though.
that's very good. Dustin the Permio. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I
The
didn't even think.
105s looks like a phenomenal flight to be in. As you said, Andy Rowe, what a man. Almost did he got 185, didn't he, on his second bench, and then he missed
He got
190. Is that it?
yeah. I think he went 3 for 3 on squats
Squats.
and deads, and then I think he just missed one bench.
Yeah, it's phenomenal lifting. I
Yeah,
yeah, like I was watching the good few flights. I was watching like obviously the ones I'm interested in, like the 93s and the 105s and watched the 83s as well. And
yeah.
yeah, just like fuck me, like I'm here 30 years old trying to like eke myself along and have these like 20-year-olds just like
Don't
blasting
fucking
ahead.
talk to me about fucking the misery of it, because like
It it's always that thing, is it? It's like somewhere out there there's a 15-year-old girl squatting a squat or like benching your back squat or something like that. It's like
yeah,
it's getting like that, all right.
it's going in that direction. I think just being there as well with the atmosphere, like there was a savage crowd, and with Callum O'Mahony and Adam Dewan going fairly back and forth
Yeah,
for the entire flight, and the 83s was probably the highlight of the weekend. Like it's only when you look at like say a Callum who's like that like far
yeah,
ahead, and then you have someone like Adam that's just on his tail, and like I think the two boys both hit 500 dots, which is fucking scandalous. Like it is it is like absurd beyond belief.
yeah.
And Callum did it 2 years in a row, and I'm assuming if he's an 83 again next year, could be on for the three-peat.
Yeah, did he's total 744 or something like that?
743 or 744,
Yeah, I
something.
like it's funny because like I remember the first Irish nationals I went to, Damien won, of course,
Yeah,
and I remember the MC was like, "God, we really don't envy the person who has to follow in this man's footsteps, or who has to like turn up after him." And like obviously, like Callum's doing that now. Now, obviously, Damien hit 800 as an 83, which is a bit
yeah,
to go, but at the same time, Callum's very young and plenty room to continue to grow as well. So it's going to be
Yeah.
incredible to kind of see that kind of trajectory.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And even just the trajectory is like of like the young junior Irish powerlifting scene as a whole. Like it's actually wild how far the Irish powerlifting has come over like the last few years. I was looking at open powerlifting there over like the last few days, just after junior nationals. I remember in my weight class, for example, like Arthur Lynch was like the top dog, and he's hitting like 745 or something like that was like his
Mm.
best one, and like that was like behind Barry Piggott was like the second best total, and
In the
you
ninety
know
trees, yeah.
now like that wouldn't even get podium at like the nationals.
No, it's mental. And like with Kerry
Or
there,
Barry would
even
anyway.
with Kerry even there in the 93s, like Kerry, that was his second competition. And like you're like I was saying this on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, where like there was just no end to the upper limit on his squat or his deadlift. Like there was just 10 kilos on the bar, 10 kilos on the bar, 10 kilos on the bar, 10 kilos. Like it was just this like linear rise. Like it was just going that way every week. Um. So yeah, like where that lad will end up in come like open nationals could be fucking demented. Like just his and like his attitude to training as well. Like he's his head extreme, like really well screwed on. Like he's a good grasp on like load management, putting the right weight on the bar, leaving something for tomorrow, not having to bleed himself dry on a given day. So like he's fucking pleasure to coach, but also like extremely exciting just for his for where he could land in the next couple of years, because he's still pretty light in the 93s. So yeah, like I think he did 725 with like lots left in him, and even like Alex Elliott pushed Kerry really hard, and Alex is 21 and weighed in at like 87
Yeah.
kilos. Do you know, it's like Alex would have well been capable of like 725 and 730 or 730 himself. Like he'd more left in him in the squat and the bench. So yeah, it is very like exciting time. It's like you and I always say to each other, you don't realize you're in the good times until you look back.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? What like other than obviously just more people be involved, like do you think there's other kind of factors that are kind of influencing all of these young bucks being as strong as they are? Or do you think it's just a case of yeah, just the sport growing and obviously we weren't all as strong as we thought we were back in the day?
I think that it's probably twofold. Where every year the IPF puts out like standards for international team qualifying. And do you remember a couple of years ago there, everyone was like, how the fuck can you hit these standards? No one's going to hit them.
Yeah.
And like everyone was going like up the fucking walls. And then the IPF came out and were like, look, we have an A and a B standard. B standard will still get you selection, even if you're a little bit under the B standard. But look, we're just going to put them out there as like targets to hit. And people come out and hit the standard. And that's I think that level of like competition in turn, like maintaining that level of competition and that expectation on people to get better is obviously driving on athletes. The coaching standard is so much better even than the first junior nationals I went to. Like the first junior nationals I went to in City Gym was mental. It was like savage meat, like in terms of atmosphere, one of the best I've ever been to. But like people were fucking missing lifts left, right, and center. There was pretty poor, not pretty poor attempt selection, but like maybe not as good. I think we're seeing a lot more as the standard of coaching increases. Those outliers become more outliery. Like they're maybe getting that to that point. I think as well, like where we're probably seeing, like Andrew Blackwood is a pretty good example, maybe of someone like he's been powerlifting nearly 7 or 8 years.
Yeah.
Do you know, like where he's like just I think he did his that was maybe his last competition as a junior, maybe I'm not sure, but like he's been in it so long, um, to the point where you could like he's probably you could nearly consider him an OG of the sport, and being in the sport longer for like 5, 6, 7 years, like there's a lot of sub juniors that were at that competition that were terrifying. If you looked into 120 under 120 lads, there was a young fella from up the north. I think he was like 16 or 17. Uh, I think he just missed a 300.5 pull.
Wow.
Like 60, I think he was maybe 16 or 17. Yeah, and like as more people participate in the sport, you just get more people at the extremes. And in powerlifting, it's the outliers that fill those podium spots. So like if we had 1,000 people participate in powerlifting, I don't know, 3 years ago, and there was there was 2% were outliers, whereas now we're up to 3,000, and we still have the same percentage of outliers at a population level, but there's just way more of them.
Yeah.
I think that probably is attributing to the rising standard. Yeah, maybe. Does that make sense?
Well, I suppose as well, it is obviously a lot more accessible to compete now. Like, versus when I was getting interested in looking at competing. Like, naturally, I think there at the time there was maybe 4 competitions at most, to do, and then alongside that, I mean, there wasn't a huge kind of social media presence of kind of powerlifting or powerlifters as well back then.
Yeah,
Whereas now, obviously, with the likes of media exposure and how everything's ran and the amount of competitions, it's obviously going to be easier for people to just take up. In the gym, somebody just decide I'm doing powerlifting now.
yeah,
And again, even just like the likes of vlogging, YouTube, fucking podcasts, like powerlifting is everywhere. Powerlifting
yeah,
is very
yeah.
much in and hot and sexy right now, which is great to see.
What's that?
It's
What's
Zoolander.
that from? Yeah. Powerlifting is so in vogue.
Yeah, yeah,
But I suppose where, like, as the general uptake of resistance training increases, like, so too does the amount of like outliers involved in the gym. There's more powerlifters in the gym where like with like a young fella there I coach, like Josh, he came second in the 74s, and again it was his like second competition. I think he'd like a 470 dots at his like second comp, which is just fucking like it's just stupid, um and like Josh was in and out of the gym, and like he's just like he's lovely, sweet lad. And I was just like, hey, I was like, would you ever give it a go? I was like, I think you're pretty strong. You might be good. Do you know, we have some fun here in training. And like he saw the boys doing it, and he saw like, oh, it's a bit of crack. All lads train together, bit of a buzz. Gave it a go. Just missed out on best overall lifter at his first, like, it was an open comp, but he did like a 440. I think he totaled 600, 605, and he had a 441.5 dots, and the lad that beat him for best overall lifter had 441.7 or 441.6 dots or something like that. And that was his introduction to powerlifting.
yeah,
But like, if powerlifting wasn't in best body, you know, and like if there wasn't like the lads that do powerlifting and me, the coach, he mightn't have taken it up. But
yeah,
as powerlifting is in more and more gyms, and there's more and more coaches, and there's more and more clubs, the likes of Josh and the the Damien Nams of the world and the Toasters and the Callum Mahoney's, like they will come into the sport.
Yeah, availability like matters a huge amount, doesn't it? Like, and even as you said
Yeah,
there, like even just having somebody who would nudge you in that direction. Like, I think
yeah,
everybody knows those kind of those freaks that they might see in the gym or even just in your kind of friend group who, if they did something like a strength sport that they do extremely well, but they're just not nudged in that direction.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, yeah.
Which is
But
why,
like,
which is why coaching, like say for example, a lot of the people that you coach can be so rewarding because like it's like when I used to play rugby and I'd have like my rugby coach and you see your rugby coach it's like almost like your fucking dad to a degree, and have all your teammates and stuff like that, and
I
you know
I lost I lost you there, lad, when you just said rugby coach.
I said like your rugby coach when you're younger he's almost like your dad to a degree. Like,
Yeah,
he's looking after you and all the boys, and
yeah, yeah, yeah,
you're
yeah,
always going to take your coach's word. If they tell you to jump, you're going to say how high.
yeah,
They
yeah,
tell you to do
yeah,
a few laps of the pitch, you're going to do them.
yeah.
It's probably the exact same. Like, it's probably some kind of like Daddy Lawrence vibes going on there.
Yeah, and like what's gas about it is like there's a young fella I coach, and he's like a sub junior, and he's just like, when I started coaching him, he was real like, like bit fucking mad in the fucking head, like he
Yeah,
was real like a real wiry kind of young fella, like you'd like, like he's a ball of energy, to say the least, but even like having the other lads around him in the gym, he's kind of the youngest, and like the rest of the lads are like 18, 21, 22, and then like obviously I'm like at the latter stage of that, but like it's kind of made him come up to their level a little bit, which is nice. But I think in powerlifting, I really hope that the club culture that's in Ireland hangs around, um, rather than it kind of becoming uh kind of like gyms, or because like when you see like Odyssey, or kind of like the abs kind of groups, like there's a real like gel
yeah,
that you can kind of see, and like that sense of community that keeps people involved in the sport that bit longer, gives them a bit of a social safety net, um and like, like a rising tide lifts all boats, where like if people have that feeling, and that sense of belonging that we all need in our daily lives. But it does, like, it will push people on, because like you're like, oh, I'm with my friends, can't make show of myself, or I can't let the boys
yeah,
down, or so yeah, it's a good time for powerlifting.
yeah, yeah. The community aspect has always been something that's drawn me more to it because I think t- there's the process of like going to the gym and to get stronger or to get bigger can be quite fucking lonely, if you're just training
Yeah,
by yourself. And I think not like look, people want to talk to other people and talk to other people that are like them, you
yeah,
know. It feels nice. It feels nice to actually socialize with people. And you can obviously see it with when it does come to like new powerlifters, right? What's the first thing that they do to kind of signal to the world that, hi, I am a powerlifter? They probably buy like an SBD belt or an SBD t-shirt, or something like that, to like, it's like their kind of bat signal to let other powerlifters know, hey, I'm a powerlifter too. Like,
oh, I
I've gone into conversations with like so many people of just like I'd be walking like somewhere and have my belt looped around my bag, and somebody be like, oh, do you lift, like, and we just start talking from there, and it'd just be, again, it's just like this like calling sign. And like, yeah, like people love that even more when it's like attached to like an even smaller group, right? Because like if you wear an SPD t-shirt, you're part of this huge group. It's just like it's almost like you're a human, but now you have a club logo, and it's like, you're one of my humans.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
But like,
so
it's why like soccer gives that like sense of belonging, that sense of
yeah,
community, that identity. No, not that that's not exclusive to soccer, but like sports in general. And I know it sounds funny, but like if I see someone wearing an SBD t-shirt versus I see someone wearing an Inzer t-shirt,
yeah,
or
8 man strong.
an yeah, or like an overkill. Like if I ever saw someone wearing an overkill t-shirt, I'm like, I probably want to talk to that person. Do you know, like there's no IPF approved around here, boy. But and like that, like, and like it's true. Like I'm like, I want to hear why you're wearing that t-shirt.
Yeah,
And like, it's kind of what I love about like powerlifting as well, is like it's a weird, it is a weird sport, like where uh like you do kind of find like a lot of like funny kind of odd people. Like, I mean, like the you have the fucking the classic kind of like bit fucking mental powerlifter, like that meme still definitely exists. Like,
yeah, the Rob Flats of the
uh,
world.
yeah, he's fucking great, man. Did you see the singlet he was wearing for
Yeah,
that?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
lad, like what? Like how fucking, like how committed to shitting on someone could you be? And like, what's the gas about him and Serban is like, oh, you're a fat cunt, like how can you not lift so much? And then Rob is just like, oh, you're fucking weak as shit, man. Like fucking fuck your dots. Like I can squat like your sub total. Like that's I love that. And like it's why like the IPF is fun. Like it's good natured, and everyone is like, oh, I believe that gentleman may be a fine gentleman, but I perhaps, in my estimations, believe he could be subpar to the excellence that I will achieve on the day. And then the untested side is just sheer genuine cyberbullying, like
Yeah.
to the letter of the law, like genuine abuse. And like both are fun. It's just a different a different kind of thing. But I think with the clash as well, like it's like that's gonna be a like a crazy weekend for Irish powerlifting as well. I think you're gonna have a podium, a potential podium, an 1100 kilo podium.
Could see two 1100 kilo totals. Or sorry, you meant three.
Three,
Yeah.
like you could have, like in theory, depend. Like I do. My only worry is looking at Dan Bell. I don't know if anyone here follows Dan Bell, but like for anyone who does know, all-time world record holder Dan Bell, goated. But even going on his Instagram here now, I'm not going to say it looks like the deepest squat, but he did 455 the other day, and
It's always very difficult to tell from like those
it,
angles with those boys because of
the
like
sheer size.
where is the hip crease and where's the top of the
Yeah,
hinge?
yeah,
Like especially with the
um,
wraps on, like
hundred
I'd be
percent.
I'd be a fucking terrible ref.
Yeah, yeah. I'm. It looks high, but then again, you just don't know. Like,
Yeah, I always think when I'm watching those big lads though that their squats so high. Like anytime I watch them, like unless I see them like very much bury it. But again, as I said,
except
I'd be a terrible referee.
except Dave Richardson,
Yes, yeah, well,
I would agree with
he
you.
almost
Dave
touches
is
the
like,
floor.
yeah, like his lifting standards are just fucking stupid. Like I'm going through his page here. Like when he did that. Did you see the competition where he did the 1060 or 1070? Did you see that?
Yeah, and
No.
the guy forgot to put the collar on his bar. Is that it?
Yeah, so Dave did in January. In January, Dave did 1070 at 124. So he'd like a 600 dots. And you can only assume he's going to come in stronger for this because I think he's pulled 430 in training since last week. Yeah, he did 430. Like he's a fucking he's a scary guy. Like
And then you also,
actually very
and
very pleasant, really nice, well spoken man, but a scary guy.
bad man.
He bad man.
Also,
Um,
Nicholas Dupree's, I seen he put up a 260 bench today. He
yeah,
also squatted 445 in training, and I think
that was deep as fuck.
yeah, he almost looks like he he looks like he butt wings it as well. You know,
Potentially
yeah, strength of that lower back, right?
strength of that. Yeah,
Um,
that lumber lordosis.
yeah, and I think he deadlifted like 430 or something like that, which is yeah, that's pretty fucking big total. But
Yeah, the
like
only
deadlifted when he has the figure eights on, which is kind of
yeah,
I
that's
don't
the
really
only
see.
thing. Like it's like with Nicholas, you just would love to hope he can hang on to a deadlift, but I just don't know if he would have the grip. And like it is a thing with these like bigger lads. They just like with the weight that's in their hand and the amount of
Yeah,
fatigue they're probably generating from having a huge squat, a huge bench, and then they go into deadlift and they are probably fried. But like if he did his 445, 265, and that 430, you're talking an 1140, 1140 total.
yeah,
Do you know, like it's fucking stupid. Like you can't like you can't even picture that like a 430 squat or a 445 squat is most people's. Like if you're going into anything with like a 445 sub total going into deadlifts, you're going all right. You're having a pretty fucking good day.
yeah. One thing that's actually crazy though, when you think about it, is even just this weekend at the Ghost Clash, like John Hack did 1040, I think, at 93,
1040, yeah.
at 93,
And
like in knee sleeves
Denise
as
is
well,
two,
which
yeah. Denise is
which
two
is
ninety as well.
and
Fucking hell.
as oh, everybody always points out high bar.
Yeah.
Like that's honestly just like it's mind blowing, really, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
um,
Watching Denise's last pull, like how patient she is off the floor is just so I think is so impressive. Like she just holds her position so well,
yeah,
and then it just snaps. I think that's to me that's the hallmark of a good deadlifter, is someone
yeah,
that can be patient off the floor and not shit the bed and lose their positioning. Like us mortals will do that, but
yeah. Not me.
yeah, she's no no not you. We'll see how you go now when there's fucking 20 kilos more on the bar.
Uh, yeah. I was gonna say something very insightful there. Apologies, it is 20 past 9 here, people. I'm usually going to bed at this time. I was going to say, unfortunately, we'll never probably have John Hack in the podcast because you probably don't know this if you're listening at home, but when we initially started the podcast, I sent out an email
Oh
to
yeah.
John Hack. However, I copied and pasted the email over and just adjusted the body of it, and I forgot to change the name, so it just said, "Hi David." I addressed John Hack, the best powerlifter in the world, as David. So
Oh.
I can't imagine he's ever going to come on.
No,
Yeah,
you shit the bed on that
you're
for
in
the
that
two
one.
of us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably
Uh,
well. I was actually watching a very interesting video today from Pete Rubish. If everybody remembers Pete Rubish, he was
the,
like
the
one of like the
OG
OG powerlifting like
YouTubers. Yeah.
YouTubers, fucking mad head case. He's completely different now. He's very much downsized. But he was talking about the John Hack effect today, which was essentially probably not seen as much kind of big names at those meets, at those big money meets, because a lot of people know that John Hack's just going to come in and win. You
Yeah.
know, so a lot of people are just kind of, maybe kind of dodging them or going to other ones, which is interesting. Which is interesting, you know. It'd be interesting to see like John up against some of the guys from, say, for example, the Clash, up against Boris.
Well,
Like,
Boris
the Boris
went to
was meant to compete, but he ended up tearing his quads, didn't he?
yeah, like that
So
is fucking rough as fuck. Um,
hopefully it's not
like
bad.
yeah, hopefully it's not bad. You'd hope for because he's another electrifying powerlifter. You would have loved to have seen where he could potentially end up because he's crazy strong. But I would probably be. So I suppose someone like John Hack is like that little bit further ahead of everyone that he's obviously going to do the highest paying meets because he's obviously at the level he's at. Like if he goes even 8 for 9 or 7 for 9, it's probably it's everyone else's day to catch up to him. But
Yeah.
he's our generation's Ed Cohen. Like he's just so far ahead of everyone else at the moment that it's not a it's more of a question of who's coming second and third
Yeah.
than than anything else.
Yeah, he did go 8 for 9 at that one as well.
Yeah, and like
It's
he
it one thing though I find very interesting because like I've listened to a good few podcasts with him, and like even just like observing the way he posts on Instagram, like he's obviously won like many of those meets, but anytime like he puts up the post, he can see the athlete and that he's just like he doesn't care that he won. It's like he's just like I didn't do my best today, and
yeah yeah yeah
I'm annoyed about that, which is cool because like it's not, again, you'd have some people who it would all be all about their kind of ego, and like they just be like, I'm the champion, undisputed, blah blah blah. Whereas he's just like, I was actually really happy with my performance today. I think I did really really well. I didn't doesn't talk about records, doesn't talk about like
yeah
number one all time or anything like that. It's just like very process oriented essentially.
yeah. I There's a multiply lifter, Dave. Oh my god, how am I forgetting this lad?
Dave Hoffman.
Dave Hoff. Probably the equipped version of John Hack, I suppose. For anyone that doesn't know equipped lifting, just look up Dave Hoff. I think his name is Mister 3K1K. Yeah, 310K on Instagram. So he has, I think, squatted 510. Do you know what? I'm just gonna fucking someone is gonna be screaming at this, being like, he squatted fucking four, like whatever. I'm just gonna put up his lifts, but he's definitely another lifter that um if you want to listen to someone that's very process oriented, he's an interesting guy to listen to because he's very much in the pursuit of his craft. So he is, Jesus Christ. Okay, so he squatted 580, bench 442 and a half, and pulled 365. So he has a 1,387.5 total. Yeah,
Christ, 580 on the squat.
580 squat, it says here, yeah.
That
And
is
like,
insane. Like I
and
can't even imagine what that looks like in terms of plates in the bar.
he's not that heavy. He's like 130,
Yeah.
135. But like, if you look, and like what's kind of cool about him is that like if you look at his progression over the last few years, say like he did his first, like I'm on his open powerlifting now, and like Mike T, if you follow his progression through the years, the line, like the net line, is pretty straight. Like he's just like there's just been slow, steady progression, and like he might go meet to meet, he might progress, he might regress, he might progress, he might regress, but like the trend line is very much up. Yeah, he has done a 1,400 kilo total. He did 14. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, would definitely encourage people to maybe listen to him because he's like John Hack, very much into his craft, and he's the best in the world at his sport.
Yeah, it is always very interesting to listen to the top of any sport when they have that kind of that mindset. Like even if you listen to anything with Kobe Bryant stuff like that, like it's very much just
Mm.
like wants mastery over the skill as opposed to anything else. And that's actually one thing I wanted to ask you a little bit about today as well. So, like, say for example, with your athletes coming up to their meets, like the your lifters for junior nationals, like,
Mm.
how did you approach like goal setting or kind of planning with them for that?
Oh, lad, I won't lie. I think with I think with powerlifting, you need to steer clear of numbers. Really, to have a good day, you
Mhm.
can't really get attached to numbers. And like for me, when you're there on the day, your only goal is for your lifter to go 9 for 9 while leaving as few kilos behind them on a platform. And this is one of the things I was kind of talking to. I think it could have been Garben or Jack Thornton. Could have been a conversation I was having with both of them, but like at the higher levels in particular, I like on the higher levels, but like when it's competition and there's a bit of back and forth and there's someone on your heels or you're on their heels, going 9 for 9 and hoping that the other person makes a mistake or maybe their attempt selection isn't as good is your probably your best chance of success. Because like it's not like a game of soccer where you can go out and play dirty and like maybe you're not as skillful but you're fitter or you can work like it's just you just have to hope that your number is higher than theirs and like it's there's no other things you can do to really impact their day. As regards goal setting, depending on the level of the athlete, that's kind of gonna predicate some of the goals. Like they'll have their own goals if they want to win or they want a podium or they want to hit a qualifying standard. Like that's their outcome goal, and you do need that to
Yeah,
a point. I think with some people because what drives someone particularly acutely, you can't really argue it. Like if there's like this like fucking 22-year-old lad that's full of fucking energy and I just want to fucking win, I just want to win. It's easy to get them fired up. That's not the hard part. It's probably toning them down a little bit and being like, okay, look, we're gonna just treat this day one by one. First goal is get on the board. Let's get 3 for 3 on squats. On bench then like you've the same step by step strategy. But yeah, I find with goal setting for goal setting for powerlifting meets can be very much a double edged sword where lifters will very much kind of get caught up in a dots or a total or an outcome as opposed to like we always say to each other like being that little bit more process oriented where like you're like okay I want I really want to go 9 for 9. I really like those are the things I love to hear from someone rather than being like, oh man, finna bust that 550, FR ops not gonna catch the, you know this like
yeah, they don't want that smoke.
no that yeah this like
Yeah,
the things people say to me, but but yeah I yeah, I very much just say it like sit people down like let's go 9 for 9. Like if there's a national record there and it's there for the taking, we will load it. If
of course.
there's
Yeah.
a win, if there's a win there and it's there for the win, we'll push you right up to the way where we think you can go. And if it's good enough for the win, it's good enough for the win. But I try and I try and all like Jason from the Strength Guys said something that definitely echoes in my head, which is when you're coaching, you want to match or be a little bit below on the day, because with that energy that can kind of like overtake a lifter, like you kind of want to be that calming, steady presence. Okay,
Yeah.
look, listen to the commands. Don't get too caught up in your own head. Just this it, this lift could be a little bit hard. You definitely have it. Just keep pushing. Like you're just trying to be the voice of reason. They're kind of
Yeah.
like more like say knowing what to say to a lifter just before they go out onto the platform is definitely something that the longer I'm in it, like the less screaming and roaring you kind of need to do, but more kind of just reassuring, being like, you have this, it's on, it's loaded, you have it.
Yeah. Yeah, you need to be the objective one. Sure, you're there to be the coach. As you said, like if there'd be nothing worse than if you were getting overly hyped yourself as like the coach, and then they're going out there and they're like, yeah, they go there and you just end up going,
Yeah.
then there's just like bottling the lift, and then you're like, oh, like
Yeah.
then both of you have a massive come down, Whereas like then, like, yeah, if you're like that as a coach, then it's harder for you to be like, all right, bring us back down now. Now let's focus on the next attempt. you know?
And that's where it's like, and like I'm sure everyone that's new to coaching has probably been guilty of it, where like you get so caught up, you want your lifters to do well, you want to like match their energy, you want to bring the hype, and
Yeah.
like I'm sure your lifter is already like feeling that, like, I don't know,
Pressure.
that pressure. So I think and like I think a lot of people don't like an awful lot of people internalize that. Like I had a friend in college, and like I remember watching him when he was going to lift, and I was like, "Oh, what's wrong with you? You're so fucking calm. You just need to get hyped up." And he was like, "No, I am, but just I'm not like banging my head off shit and
Yeah.
doing retarded things." And I was like, my mind couldn't comprehend. I was like, how is he keeping this in? But it's just as you're around like more lifters, and you see like, okay, look, things usually go better when I'm like this bit more level headed and steadier, and like you're watching other coaches and other lifters, and you're like, okay, when there's a bit more of a, like you said, a bit more reasoning, a bit more objectivity to your coach, it's probably going to have a better outcome.
Yeah. I think as well, it does help you as well, just coach better as well, and like
$100%.
not pander to like maybe what you want the athlete to get or what they want to get. Like say for example, if you did like set some initial goals, and like they go out for an attempt, and like the provisional third that you set is just not there. Like if you were getting a little bit too emotional yourself as a coach, you could end up like making the incorrect call for them, versus
Yeah.
like have the very brief kind of moments where you're just like, look, I just don't take us there. I think we'd be better off taking this. They'll obviously be a little bit kind of like annoyed, maybe upset, annoyed at the moment that they don't get the chance to load it. But at the end of the day, they're probably going to be more annoyed that if they load that and they miss it, versus if they go for the lower attempt and they make that, and they end up like maybe saving some other lifts across the day because they kind of made a better call. Like I know from my own experience, I definitely would rather make an attempt than risk the higher one and get it. Like unless that like next attempt is like I don't know, a huge milestone or something like that. But like ultimately, like those kind of numbers are going to come like if you just continue to compete. So
Yeah.
you're
No,
almost
you're.
you're
Yeah.
almost better off to just kind of settle for, I'm going to make most of my attempts. If I can compete here, yeah, let's play ball. But if not, let's just continue to build
Yeah.
that total.
Yeah. I think my philosophy with them is like, you'll never be upset about going 9 for 9. Like literally never. Like there's no. like no powerlifter has gone 9 for 9 being like, oh, that day could have gone better. Like it doesn't, like, as long as it's like within reason that like all of your lifts don't look like a fucking an opener. But like for the most part,
Yeah.
for the most part, if a lifter goes 9 for 9,
Listen,
they're yeah, yeah. Maybe listens, but yeah, like for the most part, if you go 9 for 9, lifter is going to be pretty content with that. And as well, like having like the lifter having trust in you as a coach, where like we were we were in a position with Josh where like Map was that little bit further ahead. Rian McKeever coaches Map, like he's a savage, like really good lifter. You're alright. So Map was a really good lifter, and we were in a position where Owen Shanahan was probably projected that little bit ahead of us. But Josh missed his last bench. We tried to load the bench record, missed it. But like he just kind of got lucky that the way the day fell. And Josh kind of had the more lifts completed by the end of the day, and he wound up with second place. But like it is very, like he was probably looking at me being like, could have loaded a little bit more in squat, and I was like, no, you definitely could have. But I was like, we need to load something pretty nice here for deadlifts, so let's try and keep you fresh. And kind of like, even when he was looking at me with like attempt selections for deadlift, and like his opener flew, his second flew, and then like we just kind of, I was like, look, we'll just be kind of conservative here on the conservative end of the attempt selection, for your deadlift, and just hope it kind of, he has to pull a little bit too much to overtake you, and that's kind of the way it fell. But I think when you have the trust from the athlete, like obviously a nationals is a little bit different because you're vying for positions as opposed to numbers. Like a lifter would probably rather be in first or second place. I'm assuming at a national competition, rather than being like, oh yeah, like if you're 2.5 under like a milestone lift, they don't really care.
yeah.
Whereas like maybe if it's like an open comp, or maybe like you're yourself here at series, like you're gonna hit some, all going well, some nice milestones. Like you'll get you'll get a 275 squat, hopefully 175 bench, and you'll break the 3 barrier. Like that's, they're all like, hopefully like are you not?
Don't doubt it, man. If
Oh,
you're at this point, I'm probably barely even going to bench 165.
your elbows
God,
fucked, are they?
God help me. No, not even. Just like I just feel like my bench press hasn't really kind of gotten much stronger for this peak anyway, which is kind of annoying, but it is what it is. Like, you know,
It is what it
it's
is.
just a bit back to the drawing board.
More Maya rep sets on weighted dips it is.
Yeah, fucking hell. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, God. Yeah, bench is just, it's just not the one, you know.
I think
I've been stuck at this, like at this same like rage for like the last like 2 years. I think the very first time I benched 160 was 2021. It's 2024 now.
it was one of the comps we did.
Yeah, but
I'm
like
fairly
I had a
sure.
bench in training, right, for the first time in like 2021, and I was
Right.
like in 2021 I was like 170, 175. That's only around the corner.
Yeah, it's the delusion of the more like the longer you're in it, you're like we always say to each other, obviously, but like the gains are so fucking small.
Fuck, it's like
It's nearly like, I'm looking at all the like boys here, the young fellas, and they're just like even Dustin, like Dustin's pretty, like he's about 3 or 4 years in, and like Dustin has a mediocre training block, and he puts like 10 or 15 on his total. Like he's like, oh, I only put 5 in my squat, I only put 5 on my deadlift, and 5 in my bench. I'm like, I would murder every one of your family for that increase in my total. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. And like,
Yeah.
do you know, it's just the more advanced you get, not to fucking lick his ass again, but Mike T, not fucking PBing. What did he put up? He hasn't PB'd since he was like 26. He hasn't PB'd in like 11 years or something like
Yeah.
that. I wish I was that level to not PB though.
Yeah,
Um,
he has been posting like rep PBs and stuff like that. I think he's like deadlifted like 345 kilos for like a set of five or something like that.
yeah, it's
Pretty damn
fucking
fucking
stupid.
stuff.
Jesus Christ, like. Um, but
But
yeah,
yeah,
I think with handling on the day, like the more trust you have from your lifter that you're making the call for them. Like you're not I remember handling someone, like he wasn't one of mine, but I was handling someone. And he genuinely was like, "Why are you fucking me over putting in lighter attempts?" I was like, man, I'm on your fucking team. Like, I was like, I'm not trying to do you dirty here. Like, and he was like, oh, all the attempts you're putting in are like the way lighter than I want. And I was like, yeah, but you're not going to lift the fucking weight. Like, I was like, what do you want to do? Get fucking folded with like a 175 here, pal? Like,
oh my
I don't
god.
know. Like, it's not like I'm a fucking professional or anything. Coming out here, standing beside the electrician, being like, "That fucking plug socket, why the fuck is it going there?" Standing beside this, like Jesus fucking Christ, man, like,
That's hilarious. Oh,
yeah. And like, it got to the end of the day, I was like, "Oh, you went like, do you know, you only missed one lift. Are you happy?" He was like, "No, no, no. Like I had these goals for the comp, and I was like, oh, I was like, you're delusional." Like, I was like, this is not the sport for you. I was like, maybe some, I don't know, make believe kind of. Do you know those people,
yeah.
and you see the hobby horse, uh, like where they're riding an imaginary horse? There's going to be a version of powerlifting where there's going to be an empty barbell, and it's going to be like an acting thing where they're going to be pulling facial. I'm fucking telling you, it's coming. They're going to be pulling facial expressions, being like, who can make an empty bar look the hardest, and that's the sport for that kind of person who needs to exist in make believe land.
Yes, like the unrealistic expectations is definitely
Oh, lad,
is
it's
definitely a
it,
tough one to deal with for sure.
and like, I get the people want to do, like, everyone wants to do their best, but like, there's just, do you know that, like, Father Ted? Can I screen share this so people can see?
Uh, yeah. We'll go into YouTube. Well, will it? Wait.
All
Presentation.
right, let's pull this bitch
No,
up.
I can't.
I can, yeah. Woman, window. Oh, it won't let me share.
Can you share now?
Oh, wish the cat's pissing. Hang on a minute. All right. So, for anyone, like, this is the diagram I'm going to show you.
Oh, have you done it? Very good.
All right. So, like,
This is pretty cool.
here's a
No, we can do this.
here's a brief description. So, in your head is reality, and the rest of the world is dreams. This is not the sport for you. There's there there are many other sports that you can participate in, but
Yeah, yeah. Dungeons and Dragons, for example. Minecraft.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know.
this is what I'm referring to here. Anyway, yeah, I just felt I need to share that with people. But yeah, so like, handling that kind of person, I think, is quite hard because, do you know that thing of like, happiness equals expectations minus reality? I I think that kind of person never really lasts in powerlifting. The person that's like not really happy with, like, they do a PB and they're not really happy with it. Oh, it should be more, or like they can never really be like content. They're like, oh, like, they're usually the type of person that gets like really emotionally caught up in the day, and they're like sniffing the bottle of smelling salts before they weigh in, and they're just doing general tomfoolery and hijinks. But yeah, it's gonna eat you up.
Absolutely. Some sports are just not for everybody. But it's
No.
I think some of that can come down to, again, just not having the right people around you. So a lot of times those people just need to have a better support system, or like, again, like I put up a post there last week about, like, if you're the strongest person in your gym, you should probably find another gym, because like a lot of the time it
Yeah.
can be those people. It's like they're the strongest person in their gym. They don't have any kind of ideas what the standards are outside. Maybe they've seen somebody that's their age on TikTok do the same weight or something like that, and they're like, for the first competition, or they, again, like, what you're exposed to is always outliers. You're always seeing the people who come first at competitions. You're not seeing the person who comes fucking middle of the pack, but that could be you. That's not to say you
Yeah.
can't do
No,
powerlifting. It's like,
yeah,
I come middle of the pack all the time, and it's
and
fucking
like
great.
where and like I think everyone everyone kind of deludes themselves a little bit at the start of powerlifting, because you're like, oh wow, this rate of progress is going to last forever,
Yeah,
which it doesn't for most people. And then you end up in a position like me and Shane, where you spend years pissing into the wind, and you might get 2.5 or 5 kilos on your bench, and you go, wow, that was a productive 3 years. And unfortunately for most of us, where all things are normally distributed, you're probably going to fall somewhere in the middle, where if you take a population, if you take all of the 110 kilo powerlifters in the world, you're going to have a fairly like standard bell curve, where you're going to have all of the really like not good ones. You're probably going to be somewhere here in the middle, and then you're going to have the, I don't know, the Derek Thistlethwaites and the Borises and all these people way out the far end. And like you said, being middle of the pack for most people, as long as you enjoy the process and you like training and you get to see your friends when you're in the gym.
yeah,
I think
and
that's the big W.
yeah, and look, if you can't be a phenomenal athlete, you can always just start a podcast.
I lost you there, lad.
Oh, did you miss that? I said, if you can't be a great athlete, you can always just start a podcast.
And be a coach, yeah, exactly. Just
Yeah,
get a load of really, really strong people and live
and tell everybody
vicariously
else
through them,
how.
as I have done for the last for the last 2 years.
Just tell everybody else how it's
Do as
okay to be average.
yeah, yeah. Do as I say, not as I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I bet we better let you go to bed.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna finish off an episode of Line of Duty.
Yeah. So
I'm
if you,
watching the final episode of it, so I'm gotta get that season finale out of the way before I
geez,
go
you're
to bed.
really fucking, you're you're really living wild without Emma here, aren't you?
Yeah, up almost 10 p.m. GMT.
Up to 10 p.m. Yeah. So if you liked this episode of the podcast, you better fucking share it to your story. You better tag me and Shane.
Yeah.
And you better like, follow, and review the podcast on Spotify.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, all jokes aside, we do really appreciate it, because we both coach, we both enjoy doing this podcast, and this podcast is obviously a way of us putting ourselves out there, getting some information out to people. Hopefully it's probably not very entertaining, or that probably wasn't very entertaining or insightful or educational tonight. But anyway, you would be doing us a favour if you shared the podcast, if you followed us, or you gave us a review. If you are ever interested in coaching, you can email Shane, WhatsApp Shane, or send him a DM on Instagram, and I am the same. So thanks for listening, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Yeah, and just to add, myself and Lawrence will be around all next weekend at the App Series. So if anybody wants their t-shirts or boob signed, you know where to find us. Peace.